David Baye here from MuscularDevelopment.com. I am at the Tinley Park Convention Center for the 2014 Chicago Pro, hanging out here with Big Keith Williams. All you guys on the boards obviously know Keith. Keith, you had a real strong placing here last year in a tough group. You got 7th place. Top 5 guys, obviously a really tough class. It might have been your best showing. I think a lot of people agreed that from a conditioning and a size standpoint, it was the best that we've seen you. Here we are a year later. You've competed a little bit in between now and then. Talk to us about some changes that we can expect to see and you know, what you've been up to in the last year.
Well, you know, I did the Orlando Pro, and, you know, I was a little disappointed in my placing there. I really chased after conditioning, you know, and so I was like, I'm going to be in the best condition of my life. But that, I sacrificed some size, came in a little flat, went back to the drawing board that night, you know, did a junk meal, went to the gym the next morning and looked better the day show. So I went back to my nutritionist and says, you know, we got to come up with a different formula, a different plan. I'm always working on my legs because my upper body is always so dominating compared to my lower body. So we went back to the gym. I started doing legs, you know, 3 times a week, you know, less overtraining, more heavier weight, and just focus on the things I need to focus on. So I think the last show I just asked Dave, I was 243. This show I'll come in about 256, 257, with a fuller, drier, and more, and just this conditioned package, but coming in fuller. So we had to, you know, bring up my carbs because I'm a very carb-sensitive guy. Okay. So we start adding those carbs and things in a little bit sooner than later, and changing my protein patterns and stuff like that. And everything seems to be working pretty good right now.
Okay, so we can expect to see a fuller, heavier, but with the same conditioning that we saw last year in Orlando?
Absolutely. You know, I believe in one thing. In this sport, I believe in change. And if you're not going to come to a show and make the changes that you need to, whether you're amateur or pro, then why are you doing this? You know, everything, to me, is about condition as well. You can be the biggest guy on stage, but if you're not conditioning, if you're not conditioned, then it doesn't matter. I also worked on my presentation with my back double bicep and my lat pose because it was some poses that I just didn't like when I seen the pictures. So we went back and just started, you know, with my front double bicep move, changing one leg to another because I have one stronger leg than the other, right, things like that to create an illusion. So we did all these things hoping that, you know, the judges see and reward me based off of the changes that I made to finally put me in the winner's circle.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you bring up change. When I was in Toronto, I talked to Tony Freeman, obviously one of the best veterans in the IFBB. Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that he had touched on is that as he gets older, you know, a lot of people would assume that, you know, once you have this formula figured out, that you can just run with it. And one of the things Tony was saying, he's like, I always have to still make changes because as I get older, my body changes, you got to adapt, you know, so it's interesting that you bring that up. I mean, you being a veteran, not necessarily a veteran in the IFBB, but from a competition standpoint, you've been around long enough to know. Yep. You know, and now you brought up your legs. Everybody's, if we're going to talk, no, I know, we're going to talk about it. But, you know, it's one of the things that we talk about all the time. Like when I'm doing play-by-plays and when people are talking, it's always like, oh, this person needs to bring up this and this person needs to bring up that. But it's not like you're not training them. Yeah. You know, it's not like you like, oh, I haven't been, you know, doing squats for the past 20 years and now I'm going to, and just magically they're going to blow up. Yeah. So when you are sitting back and you're looking at, you know, what you need to make improvements on and you're like, I got to bring up my legs. I know you said you started going to 3 days a week. I mean, is that something that you just tried recently, or are you kind of like, I'm going to try this, if it doesn't work, I'm going to try this, and just kind of keep making changes?
Well, you know, I went to, you know, I've been with some of the best trainers in the industry. Charles Glass was my last trainer before, you know, I switched over to Randy Shar out of Minnesota, and basically we went back to looking at the Tom Platz workouts and things like that, and understanding I was just overtraining, but my legs are my strongest body part. I mean, you know, I've been a pro football player, pro track athlete, so it's my strongest body part, so we just couldn't figure out where they weren't growing. It was slowing down the movements, doing less reps. I was doing 15, 20 reps, and I'm doing 1 million exercises, and just cutting back things. So then my legs would recover, then blast them again, recover and blast them again. 1 week we would focus on hamstrings, and then the quads, and the next week we would just flip it. And so it's been working out pretty good for us. So that was the thing that, you know, again, as my whole career has evolutionized, it's changing my body from, like Hani used to say, from a football player's body to a bodybuilder's body. So it's a constant change, and as long as I'm making changes, I'm satisfied and happy with that. So it's just one of those things where I go back to the drawing board, I listen to what you guys say, because here's the thing, if you can't listen to constructive criticism and say, well, his legs weren't this, and Dave Palumbo has said that it was the worst Keith he ever seen at Orlando, so my wife reminds me of that every day. She goes, remember what Dave Palumbo said? And I'm like, okay, I got you. So
we're not gonna worry about this.
Yeah, we're not gonna worry about this, yo. But I basically was like, okay, I mean, I came conditioned, it's all hell, and even Sean Roden came up to me after Orlando, he goes, dude, look at you, your condition is crazy. And I wasn't even given any credit for that. So I'm like, okay, I got to bring condition and size. So that's what we plan on bringing this show.
All right, man. Well, I know everybody's excited to seeing you on stage tomorrow, including myself. Hoping that again we can see at least a repeat of how you looked here last year with some improvements. So, all right, well, we're gonna wrap things up. Let you get back to your room, get off your feet, get some food. So, for myself and everybody at musculardevelopment.com, best of luck tomorrow. We're gonna wrap it up, guys. This is David Baye with IFBB Pro Keith Williams from the Tinley Park Convention Center at the 2014 IFBB Chicago Pro.